Good day, grade 12s. Today we are doing organic chemistry. We are going to talk about the terminology, that is organic molecules, homologous series, functional groups, hydrocarbon, molecular formula, structural formula, condensed structural formula, isomers, and primal, secondary, and tertiary alcohol or haloalkane. Let's start with organic molecules. Organic molecules, that is our number one. Let's start with organic molecules. Organic molecules, that is number one. Organic molecules are compounds that contains a compound that contains a carbon atom. So all the compounds that contain carbon atoms are known as organic molecules. Why the carbon? It is because a carbon has 4 valence electrons, meaning that it can form 4 bonds. For example, we can have hydrogen bonding with that carbon and this one, and this hydrogen and this hydrogen. So a carbon forms 4 bonds around it, and a carbon can bond with itself to form a longer chain. So i-carbon ingabonda nayo to form a longer chain, right? That is another property of a carbon. There are many. Then let's focus on hydrocarbon or organic molecules. The organic molecules are molecules that contain carbon. If there is a carbon, it's organic. So this one is an organic molecule. This one is a carbon, it's an organic molecule. Carbon dioxide is a organic molecule because there is there is a carbon. Let's look at this one. This is 1, 2, 3. This is this carbon again, but we also have oxygen here. There is this oxygen, hydrogen, 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 hydrogen. This one is a propan 1 ol. Okay, this is a propan 1 ol. So since there is a carbon here, we call it organic molecule. Now let's go to number 2. Our number 2 there is homologous series. Number 2, homologous series. Okay, so we have the homologous series. Homologous series is a series of organic molecules that can be described by the same general formula, right? So organic molecules, they can be described by the same general formula, or of which each member differs from the other by CH2 group. So homologous series, you see they will have the same general formula, right? Or they will differ from each other by CH2 group. If you can look at this one, This one is ethane. Ethane. Okay, this is an ethane. Then let's look at this one. 1, 2, 3. Hydrogen, 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 hydrogen. This one is propane. Propane. Okay, so since this one is similar to this one, they belong to the same homologous series. They belong to the same homologous series because they only differ from each other by CH2 group. Okay, so they belong to the same homologous series, meaning that they have the same general formula. Okay, let's go to our number 3 there. Our number 3 was the functional group. Functional group. Functional group is an atom. The atom. Functional group is a group of atoms. It's a group of atoms. Functional group is also, it can be a what? A bond that can, or in fact that determines the physical and the chemical properties of organic molecules. So the functional group, which homologous series does this compound belong? Okay, you will see an atom, you will see a group of atoms, or you will see a bond, then you know which homologous series does this compound belong. Now let's talk about homologous series versus the functional group. Homologous. Sorry for that. Homologous series versus what? The functional group. Okay. Functional group. So we are going to write the homologous series and the atom that will tell us that this one is this homologous series, okay, or a bond or a group of atoms, which means we are going to write homologous series and its functional group. Homologous series and its functional group. Number 1, we have alkanes. Alkanes, you'll see alkanes by seeing a single bond between carbon atoms and a carbon bonded to hydrogen only. What does that mean? There will be a carbon bonded to hydrogen or a carbon single bond carbon. Then we say this is an alkane. For example, if you can look at this one. This one, that is propane. The propane has the carbon, single bond carbon, carbon, single bond carbon, and carbon hydrogen only. So there is no other atom other than carbon and hydrogen. So this compound belongs to the alkanes. Then number 2, we have alkenes. Alkenes will have a double bond between carbon atoms. A double bond between carbon atoms. Once you see a double bond between carbon atoms, you must know that that is an alkene. Number 3, we have alkynes. Okay, alkynes. Alkynes has a triple bond between carbon atoms. Alkynes have the triple bond between carbon atoms. Another thing that is very important when we are dealing with organic molecules is that a carbon will always have 4 lines from it, 4 bonds. This is the bond number 1, bond number 2, bond number 3, bond number 4. Let's look at this one. This carbon is 1, 2, 3 plus 1, 4. So it must have 4 bonds. So once you see triple bond between carbon atoms, you know that you are talking about alkynes. Then number 4, we have haloalkanes. Haloalkanes. So these are alkanes with halogen. So it's an alkane that contains halogen. X represent halogen. X can be a chlorine, can be a bromine, can be a fluorine, can be the iodine, that is I. X, I mean. Okay? For example, if you can look at this one. Okay? This compound. This compound has bromine here. So since there is that bromine, this is haloalkane. Haloalkanes, because there is a group number 7 atom. Okay, then we have number 5. Number 5 is alcohol. How to see that this compound belongs to alcohol? You will see a carbon bonded to OH, or OH bonded to a carbon. This is hydroxyl group. Hydroxyl group. It also have a name. Hydroxyl group. This is the name of the functional group of alcohol. Okay? Alcohol. Then we have number 6. I have the ketones. The ketones, you'll see carbon with a double bond O, and that carbon is bonded to 2 other carbon atoms. So this is the functional group of the ketones. This is the functional group of the ketones. So the carbons tetanga might be phakathi kwe-carbons. Then you say this is a what? A ketone. This is known as a carbonyl group. Carbonyl group. Then number 7, we have aldehydes. Aldehydes. So the aldehydes are similar to ketones, but the only difference is that the carbon with the double bond O also has a hydrogen atom. Okay, so it's bonded to hydrogen. Then we have another carbon here. Okay, this one is known as a formyl group. Right? Number 8, we have the homologous series that is known as carboxylic acid. Carboxylic acid. Okay, so the carboxylic acid has a functional group that has carbon with double bond O and also OH. There is a difference between ketone aldehyde versus carboxylic acid. A carboxylic acid has a carbon with the double bond O and also OH. This is known as carboxyl group. That is the functional group of carboxylic acid. The last one, homologous series, is an ester. We have esters. Esters has carbon double bond O. Then we also have O, but not OH, OC in this case. There is a difference between this and this. Here we have OH, but here we have OC. Okay, that is the functional group and the homologous series. So which means we have the homologous series, about 9 of them, and the functional groups. There is no name for the functional group of an ester. Okay, so let's go to number 6. Let's talk about now the hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons are organic molecules, right? They contain hydrogen, and a carbon only. Once you see a compound that has hydrogen and carbon only, you must know that that compound is the hydrocarbon. E.g., all compounds that belongs to alkanes, they have carbon and hydrogen only. They are hydrocarbons. Hydrogen, carbon. Then we also have alkenes. Everything that belongs to alkenes is the hydrocarbon. We also have alkynes. Everything that belongs to alkynes is the hydrocarbon. Okay, now let's have an example. We are going to look at the hydrocarbon, homologous series, and the functional group. Okay, example, let's look at this compound. 1, 2, 3. Hydrogen here, hydrogen here, hydrogen here, then we have hydrogen here, then we have 1, 2 hydrogens. Now let's count the number of bonds. So we have a carbon. This is the first bond 1, second bond 2, third bond 3, fourth bond. So there are 4 bonds. Let's look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's start with the functional group. The functional group is a double bond, is a carbon, double bond, carbon. Then how many bonds? 1, 2, 3, 4. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have 4 bonds. So this is the functional group. Okay, then the homologous series for this compound, since the functional group has a double bond, is an alkene. That is homologous series, right? Is this a hydrocarbon or not? Since there is a carbon and hydrogen only here, this one is a what? A hydrocarbon. Okay, so this one here pass a hydrocarbon. Let's look at example number 2. 1, 2, OH. Okay, so if we can look at this compound is known as ethanol, right? So the ethanol has OH, carbon OH. So we have this functional group, carbon OH. Carbon is bonded to OH. Okay, that is the ethanol. So this is the functional group, right? This is the functional group. Then the homologous series of the compound with this functional group is alcohol, which means this is an alcohol. This is an alcohol. Okay? Is this the hydrocarbon? Since there is this oxygen, it is not the hydrocarbon. Last example. 1, 2, 3. Hydrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. Hydrogen. Then we have a double bond O here. Then we have what? H here. Now, if you can look at this one, this is the functional group that we know, right? This is the functional group. So it's a carbon, double bond O, then we have H, then we have another carbon here. So this is the functional group. This is the functional group of what? The homologous series is an aldehyde. Aldehyde. Right? Let's look at another example. Is this the hydrocarbon? No, this cannot be the hydrocarbon because there is this hydrogen, oxygen I mean, not the hydrocarbon. Okay? Let's look at the last example. Okay? So if you can look at this one, the functional group is a carbon with double bond O and OC. So the functional group is C, O, C. This is the functional group of this one. This is the functional group of what? Of ester. This is the homologous series. Is this a hydrocarbon? No, this is not a hydrocarbon because there are hydrogen, oxygen atoms, right? Oxygen atoms. Thank you for watching. What's the next video? We are going to talk about, let's look at this. So we talked about the molecule, the organic molecule, the homologous series, the functional group, and hydrocarbons, which means now on the next video we are going to start with the molecular formula, structural formula, and a condensed structural formula. Then in another video we are going to talk about maybe the isomers, then the types of alcohol, primary, secondary, and a tertiary alcohol. Thank you very much. Please make sure that you subscribe so that you see the other videos. Don't forget to comment. Please, let's comment. Let's comment. Also share. Also like the video. Thank you. See you on the next video.